Let's talk a little about the Parsha. Not only talk about it, let's see how we could implement some of the ideas of this upcoming Parasha into our daily lives, which in Judaism, that's how everything has to be. We have to see how the Torah is speaking to us on a daily basis. The Torah is not something that was written 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, or according to scientists, 16 billion years ago. I'm kidding. But, you know, whatever the age of the universe is and the age of the Torah is, it's something that actually has to do with everyday life, and we have to implement it on a daily basis. The Torah this week, I'm going to get my water here. This is special water, by the way. It was brought and blessed by the Hacham Kaplan today from Coffee Bean. We're Sephardim. You know, if I get a water from a rabbi, it's from a Hacham and it's blessed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nihya b'dvaro. Sorry. The Torah talks about this coming week about an individual called Ephron. Abraham wants to buy a piece of land. Why? Because his wife Sarah has passed away. And the piece of land that he wants is a special piece of land. It's not just a piece of land. It happens to be the piece of land that Adam and Eve were buried in. And therefore, he wanted to have this piece of land as the land of the future generations to come, however that may be. Today that land is known as Hebron in Eretz Israel, one of the holy 3 cities of Israel. But it wasn't easy. He didn't own the land. So he goes to the owner called Ephron, and he has a conversation with Ephron. And if you look in the Torah, the conversation is as political as they come. I mean, you want to see politics in the Torah, you have to look and really read between the lines of these two conversing about this piece of land. Abraham says, Ephron, I'm here, I'd like to acquire this land for myself, so that I could bury, so he could bury his wife. And Ephron says, doesn't have to even go there. What's mine is really yours. It's yours. Take it. It's your land. Please put your wife. And you have to understand, Abraham at this time of his life had major respect all around the world. I mean, talk about social media. I mean, it was hashtag Abraham to the max. Everybody knew about Abraham Avinu. Everybody knew about Sarai Menu. Everybody knew about his son. Everyone knew about the sacrifices he made. Imagine, he jumped in a fiery pit and he survived. And everybody got it on cam. And I'm kidding, everyone's like, really? Dude, seriously, the eyes were like... But everyone knew about it. It really, it went like wildfire all over the world at the time. So Abraham was very famous and respected by all and feared. So Ephron says, obviously, he says, listen, it's your land, take it. Abraham says, nah, listen, please, just tell me because I want to bury, Sarah here. What's the price? He says, price? What price? Abraham, you are our master, you are our Lord. I'm a guest here, please. And that's how maybe Ephron would have probably passed through Iran at a certain point. He knew the rules and regulations of Tarof, right? As we say in Persian, please, befarma, right? There is basically doing Tarof like, Abraham, please, take it. No, it's yours. No, please, no, right? And then there is a 180-degree change. Abraham says, but no, I don't want it for free. No, I want to pay for it fair and square. And Ephron, being the nice guy that he was, he says, Abraham, 400 shekel kesef ben you v'necha mahi. 400 silver coins between you and I. What is it? Why are you even arguing about 400 silver coins? I mean, there's nothing even to argue about. So, all nice and dandy, right? In fact, if you look in history, even after the time of Abraham, you look closely and you will see there was land that was bought, even the time of the prophets, which were thousands of years later. Bigger pieces of land were bought and sold that we know the price of. 10 silver coins, 17 silver coins, and they were bigger than Hebron. So here something's fishy. Abraham's being charged way up the yin-yang. I mean, 400 silver coins was way above the price of the land, especially at that time. But Abraham says, no problem. Counts the money right there, being very wealthy and well-to-do, thank God. He pays fair and square for the land. But let's just take a look here. What is the deal with Ephron? Is Ephron the person that we see in the Torah, being this gracious, respectful, and giving person that he was? Or was he not? What happened here? It's a 180-degree turn. Either you want to give it up. He wanted to give it to Abraham, and he was very willing to. He was like, no, seriously, I'm a guest here. This is your home. This is your land. Just take it, do whatever you want with it. And then what happens afterwards? Not only does he want money for it, he charges a berserk amount of money for that land. I heard one time it was calculated to be like, to today's money, like let's say if someone would charge somebody like $15 million overpriced on a property. That's how far off it was. I mean, if you look at the math, if you compare it to the lands that were being sold at the time, 17 silver coins, 10 silver coins, compared to like 400 silver coins, it's a big deal, right? Silver pieces, not coins. So what happened here? The Zohar calls Ephron Nivhal Lahon. He calls the person Ephron a fool for money, a fool for greatness. The Zohar calls him, the Kabbalah calls Ephron a fool. So let's see, was he really a fool? Was he money hungry or not? There is a story that's brought down about the Rambam. Everybody knows the Rambam here? Maimonides. Not Nachmanides, Maimonides. The Rambam had a discussion with a few philosophers, scientists of the time. And they were discussing something, a new behavioral analysis had come through, and they were discussing with the Rambam. And they said, Rambam, you have to understand, everybody's a mammal. You could train a mammal to do anything. It's all about training and where you're born and what you're taught to do. That's all life is. The Rambam says, I disagree. I don't believe that to be true. They said, look, we've been training cats. We could train cats to wait on you like waiters. The Rambam says, are you serious? They go, yeah, we're pretty serious. And in fact, would like to invite you to a dinner. A 3-course dinner, glatt kosher, with supervision by rabbinic, supervision. Please come and join us for this, 3-course meal. The Rambam says, okay. He agrees, and he goes for the 3-course meal. He sits down, and the guy comes with a little tiny bell. What do we call the waiter cats? Give them a name. Tinkle? Frisky? Gorbet. I like that one. He goes, Gorbet, ding, ding, ding. And lo and behold, a kitty cat comes on its hind legs, holding a towel on one arm, and a little plate is attached to one hand, and it walks over to the Rambam with a cup of water. The Rambam is, wow. He takes the water, I don't know if he says thank you to the cat or not, but, the cat goes away, and the guy sees Rambam. The Rambam says, okay. He wanted to get the full meal before they have a discussion. He's like, all right, well, let's wait. You said 3-course meal. I'm not going to talk about it right. So he goes, Gorbet, ding, 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 ding. And the Gorbet comes in again and brings the first course. And different Gorbets come, cats come, and they start, giving out the food on their hind legs and serving like waiters and waitresses. Let's not be, they were waiters and waitresses. They weren't just male cats. And finally, the meal is about to be over. And now they want to know what the Rambam thinks. They go, Moses, what do you think? So he says, give me a moment, please. Takes out a little box, opens the little box, and there is pandemonium in the room. He had mice in the box. The mice run out, the cats go crazy, they go on all 4, and they start chasing the mice, and everything's going crazy. Tables are being flown over the place because these cats are chasing the mice. So they come to the Rambam and they go, what are you trying to prove? The Rambam says, my point exactly is this. You could teach a cat to wait, but you could never take the cat out of the cat. A cat is a cat. It could be trained to do many things, but just let go of a little mouse and the cat comes out. That's what a cat is. The Zohar calls Ephron money hungry. Why? Because it was his politics, talking to Abraham like, Abraham, listen, take the land. But as soon as Abraham said, no, but I want to pay for it, tell me how much to pay, all of a sudden he couldn't even hold himself. 400 silver pieces between you and I. Come on, seriously? It's like saying, you want the ice cream? Come on, $7,000 between you and I. It's nothing. It's yours. Just take it. It's like, are you crazy? Unless it's, it's got gold in it or something, maybe we can discuss that. But this ice cream here, I assume it doesn't. Right? But that's what philosophy wanted Rambam to believe. Anything can be trained to do anything you want it to do. But the Rambam said, yes, you could train a cat to do tricks. But is the cat out of the cat? Or is it still a cat? All you have to do to test it is wave a little mouse. So, the question comes now to us. Are we cats? Are we mammals? Or are we something else? Do we have any power of our own? Or are we also trained mammals? Are we also a product of our society? Does society decide what we are, how we feel, what we do? Is it just because we have colleges and we have, technology today that we're different? Or is it, no, we're different anyway. We're high on the food chain anyway. And technology and all the studies and different wisdoms in the world help us become better. Which is it? Are you a cat or are you something else? That is the question that I have for us tonight. And as Chachamim have told us many times, our rabbis have taught us, no, we are a product of the Creator. That means God himself created Adam HaRishon, and we are from the first man. Being the creation of the Creator, we are way, way above any cat or any mammal. We have the power to choose to refine ourselves to become the people that we're supposed to be. We weren't just put here in this world for society to decide what is right and wrong for us. It's not decided by society. It's up to us. We're not living in a chaotic world where anything goes. At least we're not supposed to. Because in that world, anything can go, and all you have to do is say, well, Jasmine did what she did. You can't really blame her because what are you going to do? I mean, she was born here. No. According to Judaism, you could never bring up those points because we all have a choice to make in life. We can all refine ourselves. We can all choose differently. We cannot say, well, you know why you think that way? You know why you think you're supposed to act the way you do? It's because society has, or else if you were born so, no, not necessarily. It's up to us. We make those decisions. It's easy to say I'm a cat and I can't help it. You know why? Because then you have no responsibility for your actions. All you have to say is, well, I was born like this. What do you want me to do? Really? That's it? That's all? And that answers all the questions. Is that really how it's supposed to be? Then we have no responsibility for our actions ever. Just like Ephron. He couldn't help it. He was human until a little mouse was waved right in front of his face. And boom, he's on all four collecting silver pieces. Is that what we are? Do we run after our I can't call it needs. Do we run after our what would you call it? desires? Or are we more refined than that? You know, I always ask, whenever we have things like this, I always ask, why do we make brachot? Why do we make blessings? As Jews, why do you make a blessing? You sit down at the Shabbat table, why do you make hamotzi? Right? There's a lot of answers, of course, as anything in Judaism has 3,000,000,001 answers. Right? Obviously. But I like one that I've stuck with for many years, especially for young adults like us. Like us. Why do we make blessings? Sometimes when I catch someone that usually, let's say, knows how to make blessings, and then they forget or whatever, and I go, hey, what did you just do? He goes, oh, I forgot. Or, oh, yeah, whatever, man. So I go, okay, let me ask you something. What is the difference between you, or I should say, I'm not pointing anybody out. What is the difference between me and a cow? Put food in front of a cow, put food in front of me. What is the difference? What's the first thing that comes into your mind? What does a cow do when you put food in front of it? What does it do? Eats it, right? What does a cat do when you put food in front of it? If it's hungry, it eats, right? A dog, same thing, right? So, put food in front of me. I eat it. So what's the difference? There has to be a difference. If everything is what I desire, and I have to have that desire the moment I desire it, then what's the difference between me and that cat? So they're right. We are mammals. We are no different. But then again, we are. Because Judaism says, before you eat, think about where the food came from. Appreciate that food. Give blessing to the provider that provided that food, and then do it. You know what that teaches you? Self-control. It teaches that, no, I don't have to eat now. I could eat in 30 seconds. I could hold myself that long to at least have the realization of where this food came from, where it's going, and why I have it, and who gave it to me. That in itself is the difference between a cat that sees a mouse and a human being that has self-control and refined character. I want to tell you a story about refined character. I'm going to give you a few, just to see what it means for a person to be able to refine their character and to become, forget superhuman, to become something else. And all of us have it. You can't say, well, because he was born here. You can't do that. Because if you knew their life story, if you were in their place, you might have not chosen the same path. That just passed away 4 or 5 years ago. He was known in the world as one of the Gedolei Hador, one of the greatest scholars in the world. He was the chief rabbi of the Sephardic Jewry and all of his books. When he was, I think, in his 70s, he had, all of a sudden, he had a heart attack. And they rushed him to the hospital. He gets to the hospital, everyone's, come, okay, he had a heart attack, he was okay, he was conscious, the doctors run the tests, and they say to the sons, this story, by the way, is directly from his son. They say to the sons that the rabbi needs to go into emergency surgery now. They had to do a bypass. One of his arteries were like 90% shut, and they had to do a bypass really quick. So the son says, we went to our father and we said, Abba, unfortunately this was happening, they're going to prep you right now. He says, whoa, prep me for what? They're going to prep you for surgery, you need to go in now. He says, no, we're not doing this right now. I need to go home, I need an hour. They go, what do you mean you need an hour? Abba, you need to go into emergency surgery right now. He says, I'm not hearing it anymore, you're wasting time. I need to go home for an hour. Then they could do whatever they want with me. They couldn't argue with him anymore. It was just wasting. He wouldn't go. And he wouldn't say why. So they take him home. He goes in his room for an hour. Everyone's waiting restlessly behind the door to make sure he's okay. Then he comes out with a piece of paper and he tells his son, make sure so-and-so gets this paper. Now we're ready to go. But then he still doesn't tell his kids what it was. After the surgery, his sons ask him, Abba, now it's over, Baruch Hashem, everything went fine. He lived until he was 93 years old. What was this? What was going on? Listen to what this person says. Listen to what Rav Ovadia Yosef says. Says, you know, a few weeks back, a lady came to me. She was an aguna. You guys know what an aguna is? Aguna is a woman that for whatever reasons, she has lost her husband, either to war. He's MIA. No one knows what happened with him. If he's dead or alive. What happens to such a woman in Jewish law? She can't remarry until she knows that her husband is deceased. So they have to have evidence and proof. And not every rabbi has the knowledge and the strings to pull to find the information needed. He says, I finally found the information needed for me to write a heter for her to remarry. No one else would have done it. If I had gone into surgery and had not made it, she would have been lost. Who would have helped her? It was up to me. Ask anyone on a stretcher going into emergency surgery what they're thinking about. I don't want to say guaranteed, but most people are not thinking about, oh, did I pay this guy's bill? They don't care. Right now, it's me. How did he do it? You think he was born that way? You think Rabbi Ovadia Yosef was born this way? To think about some random lady that needed his help? Not at all. He learned through life to refine himself to care about others. That it's not all about me. He learned not to be the cat. He understood that we're not just some mammals. Ready as soon as that desire hits the floor, I'm on it. He understood that there's more to life than that. You can grow to go outside of yourself to care about other people. That's what refinement means. Moshe Rabbeinu. Everybody knows Moses. Moshe Rabbeinu, you think he was born? Moshe Rabbeinu. You think when he was born, everyone's like, oh, Moshe Rabbeinu, a rabbi is born. He was a child. He grew up in Pharaoh's home. He thought he was Egyptian half his life. You know, the Midrash says one time, there was a king that had heard so much about Moses. And this king was a genius. And one of the powers that this king had was that he could look at a picture of a person and he could tell all the personalities that person has. And he really wanted to meet Moses. So he had someone around him that had met Moses. And he asked him, what kind of person is he? Is he as great as they say? Oh, yeah, he's even greater. He's one of the most humble people ever. He says, do you know how he looks? He says, yes. So he sends him to his artist and has the artist draw a picture of Moses, of Moshe Rabbeinu. The artist draws a picture of Moshe Rabbeinu, brings it to the king because the king wanted to analyze his face. Sees Moses' face and says, impossible. This is not the person you've told me about. He goes, I'm telling you, this is exactly how he looks. Your artist is, he's brilliant. He's fantastic. This is Moses. I don't know why I became Mexican. It's the tacos here. Right? So he says, this is Moses. He says, it is absolutely not true. It cannot be. He says, I'm telling you, my dear king, it is. So I have to see him for myself. He travels to Moshe Rabbeinu, meets him up in the desert. When he sees Moses, he asks him one question. He says, I saw your picture drawn for me before I met you. You are angry. You are selfish. You are a warlord. You are the worst of the worst. How did you do it? Why is it that your face is saying one thing, but everything you've ever done is the exact opposite? Am I wrong? Have I lost my mind? Listen to what Moshe Rabbeinu answers him. This is the greatest part about it. Moshe Rabbeinu says, you are not wrong. All of it is true. That is me. But you see, not anymore. That was me at one point. I learned to help myself, to grow out of that, to become the person I am today. I wasn't born the way I am today. If Moshe Rabbeinu, one of the greatest, Moses, he's the prophet everybody knows about. Every religion talks about. Moses himself wasn't the Moses that we know of when he was born. You think it's hard for us to say the same. You think it's so much more difficult for us to say, I can become the best I can be. It's that difficult. If Moses was known to be an angry warlord, money hungry, whatever it was, and he became somebody that we know of as the most humble, caring leader ever known to mankind, how did he do it? You know how he did it? He wasn't a cat. He never believed he was a cat. He believed he had a mission. He was different. All the challenges that were given to him, he knew those challenges are there for him to beat them. Not to just accept them and go, well, God created me this way, so what the heck? Why would anyone blame me? This is how I was created. This is how I was put here. So I guess, go with it. YOLO. Right? For those of you that don't know what YOLO is, YOLO stands for you only live once. How I like to say it is, you only live once. That's it. It really matters what you do in that life. So it's up to us to choose. Who do we want to be in life? I'll give you another story. Everyone know about Rav Moshe Feinstein? Who's heard of Rav Moshe Feinstein? I have to do Rav Moshe Feinstein. This is Rav Moshe Feinstein was also one of the greatest chachamim of his generation. He was the posek, he was the halachic authority of all Ashkenazic Jewry. But he wasn't just that. He was a great man. And people used to break heads to be able to walk with him or talk to him, put a little. So one time, a bacher, a student in his yeshiva, gets the honor of giving the rabbi a ride home. I mean, that is, you have no idea. If you've ever been honored to drive with a great person in your car, you'll know. You know, when you have someone, you don't even have to talk to them. Just knowing that they're sitting next to you, such great people, it's an amazing feeling. So this boy gets the honor of driving Rav Moshe Feinstein to his home. Comes the afternoon and it's time for him to take him home. He's all nervous and all shaky, like, I'm taking Rav Moshe home, you know. He comes, pulls up the car, you know, and as Rav Moshe is coming down the stairs or coming down from the yeshiva, he sees him, he opens the door, waits for the rabbi to come in, and puts him in the seat, and he shuts the door. They sit, and they drive home. I don't know how long the drive was, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to his home. It wasn't too far from the yeshiva. They never lived that far from the yeshiva. Let's say it was 10 minutes. They drive to his home, and Rav Moshe Feinstein gets out of the car. The boy opens the door. He gets out of the car, goes home. He thanks him. Thank you so much. Hazaku Baruch. You drove so well. Thank you for giving me a ride. The boy's so happy. He gets into his car, drives away. At home, Rav Moshe Feinstein turns to someone and says, please take me to the hospital. He says, Kvodo, what happened? He shows his hand, and his fingers are crushed. The boy had shut the door on Rav Moshe Feinstein's fingers, and it had closed. And for the duration of the drive, he kept his hand in the door. Not a peep. You tell me that's a cat? You think he was born that way? And to your astonishment, it doesn't end there. They asked him, they said, why didn't you say something for him to open the door, tell him something? And it like, as if it's the norm. He looked at him like, what do you mean? He was doing me a favor. Why would I? Like, he just was like, what are you, crazy? He had that kind of attitude. As if it was the norm to act like that. That's how he felt. He felt, it doesn't matter what happened, I'm not going to embarrass another person. You think that's how he was born? I guarantee you it wasn't. But he had worked on himself, refined himself to become Harav Moshe Feinstein. He was the Posek Ador, he was the halachic authority of the generation, But that's nothing compared to how he had become as a person, as a human being, not as some mammal that just jumps at the first opportunity to bite into a piece of meat. So I ask you again, are we just cats? Do I have 5 more minutes, Rabbi Kaplan? You're tarifing with me right now. What's 5 minutes between me and Rabbi Kaplan? What's that? I should really say, what's 45 minutes between you and I?
I suppose I'm trying to think, Rabbi Shaul, for the beautiful snacks and pastries.
Zaku Baruch.
Right from the oven. If you want to go take some, Jimmy, going to pass it around. Yeah, make sure.
One more. Just give me 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Everyone know the story of Daniel? You guys know the story of Daniel? Right. Daniel was a Navi. He was a prophet. Prophet Daniel. The most famous story possibly about Daniel a Navi was that he was thrown into a pit of lions. Right? And the lions did nothing to him. He was thrown in there to be ripped apart. However, days later, when the king came back with his people, he saw that not only the lions did not rip him apart, they were sitting next to him and protecting him. They didn't do anything to him. So that was crazy. Like, wow, he survived. He must really be a prophet of God. And then they started like loving him and respecting him. But what really took place? What really happened? It's more simple than you think. And I'll explain it to you. When God created the world, and God created the beasts, the animals, and human beings, God made a rule, a natural rule. It's called the rule of nature. Animals do not have power over human beings. Human beings put fear into animals because we are the more perfected beings. Therefore, the animals know and the human beings know. Have you ever seen animals attack human beings? I've seen it many times. So why does it happen? I'll tell you. You know why Daniel wasn't attacked by lions? Because Daniel was truly Adam. He was truly refined to the max where he was truly a human being. When you actually, your being is the way God intended for you to be as a human being, you're so refined, you're so perfected that you resemble that godliness that God really wanted for every person in the human race, then no animal could ever attack you. You put fear in their hearts because you are the master over the species. But the opposite is true also. If you're not a master over the species, if you feel you're not human, if you don't act the way a human was intended to act, the way God intended for every human being to live and act with kindness, with love and chesed and refinement of character, then you're no different than the animals. Then you will be attacked by animals because they see you as one of them and you're in their territory. That's why Daniel wasn't attacked. He wasn't in their territory. He was Ben Adam. He was truly a human being. And the lions were in his territory. That's what it means to be a human being. It means that we're not some mammals that have no awareness, self-awareness, no idea what it means to pick right from wrong. We do. We have a choice. Every challenge given to us, we have a choice. Whether we want to fight it, we want to beat it, or we want to just accept it. It's up to us. We can't bring an excuse and say, well, you know, what can I say? I'm a cat. May Hashem help all of us to be able to refine ourselves, to be able to find our true selves and become a Ben Adam. Thank you very much for listening. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much.